So I think this is going to be the first project, regardless of how small it is, that we've done with the new to me Powermatic here. Alright, so we got these holes drilled, and I think this is going to be a lot better than the original because there's going to be like at least twice as much meat for us to thread through. I do have a couple reservations though. There's this little section that's been removed from the side here, presumably to balance this thing out in whatever original application it had. And so there's a little thin spot here, but even figuring that in, there's actually more meat on each of these lugs than on the original holes. So, you know, at some point, next time I weld cast iron, because that's what this is by the way, I'll probably heat this up and weld up these holes while I'm welding whatever else I'm welding, then fix these threads because that'll booger them up a little bit and then it should be even stronger. But this, for now, just kind of has to be a quick, smaller project. So, first use with this thing, I will say I'm still really loving this wrench. It's like nicely knurled and everything for a good grip. So I'm just going to line up that tap in the hole to the best of my ability. Squirt some of this dark thread cutting oil from our channel sponsor Markall here. And yeah, here we go. I'm pushing straight down into the part, and I'm going to keep going until the thread is actually started to take. And that's kind of like what happens when a bolt actually starts to go into the nut you're threading it into. You know when it's actually got a good grip, and right now it does, because like I can move this around a little bit and that tap doesn't go anywhere. So from this point forward, anytime it gets hard to turn, which it probably won't because this is cast iron, so it's like, you know, it's like the styrofoam of the metal world pretty much in its texture. But with steel, sometimes things get really hard to turn. Now, because I ate my Wheaties this morning, as Pete would say, I could actually just tap this whole hole as is without breaking any chips, because there's not really any chips to break because again it's cast iron, so it's just kind of crumbling. But if this were steel, what I'd want to do is go about a half a turn and then back a quarter turn, and about this point you'd hear it click and then it would turn a lot easier, and that's how you know your chips are broken. But again, since we don't really have any chips on this, so to speak, it's just dust, I'm going to keep turning this all the way down, and it's cutting really easily. You know, I have tapped cast iron before, but not like steel, so I can't really say this is cutting better than something else would on steel, for instance, especially because all cast iron's a little bit different. But I mean, this is some pretty hard cast, and it had no issues with that at all. I mean, that was buttery smooth. This feels like a really smooth tap. So now what I'm going to do is back this out, and Seth, can you hand me a bolt? One of those bolts over there. And once I have this thing removed out of here, what I'm going to do is take it over to the air hose and blow all that junk in the threads out. So for now though, I'm just going to put this in here and maybe tighten down on it a little more. Yeah, this might not be the greatest tap wrench ever, but it's really friggin' sturdy. And I mean, for something that's included, it's actually quite nice. Alright, hey, thank you. And now I'm just going to thread this bolt in, and look at that, it's going right in. Yeah, it's going smooth. Tiny little bit of play in there, but definitely not much. It's a nice tight fit. Just like that, finger tight all the way down, no burrs, no nothing. Looks like this cuts some really nice threads, and for those of you that have never tapped a hole before, that's really all there is to it. And even though we don't at the moment have an actual project to do with the die, I still want to try these out for the sake of making this video with you guys. So what we're going to do is take this larger grade 2 bolt, and we're going to make the threads on it come up a little bit deeper. Let's say we're working on a project, a repair type job, and this is the closest bolt we can find to what we need, but the threads don't, you know, go long enough on it. So all we'd have to do really is to match a proper die to this. And I've actually kind of skipped ahead because you guys don't want to watch me try like 5 of these. Now the thing is, we can usually get the die to start on the threads of this. However, since it's used to being compressed in that wrench, as you can see by this little slot here, it's probably not going to want to interlock perfectly, or it'll be hard to start. See there, now we have it going, and now it's actually threading in really well. So the easier way to do this, in my opinion, is to find the tap that matches, which in this case would be this one. As you can see, these interlock perfectly, and this says right here 3/4 by 10. So all we do is find the 3/4 by 10 die, and then what we'll do is we'll get our goofy little screwdriver and we will back the screws out of this this thing here, which again actually does seem to be made pretty nicely. It looks like it's some sort of cast iron, and nicely put together. Pretty snug fit in here, and I'll just get these finger tight and then a little bit more. Alright, now the harder part about this is that just using my fingers like this here, I can see that this threaded portion of the bolt is actually, it feels like, I'd say 30 to 50 thousandths narrower than the solid part of this. So if this was a real job, I'd probably want to toss this on my lathe and machine this down. Doing it this way should also work. I've done it before, but it's a little bit harder on the die, and so hopefully that makes for a little bit better video. And already just moving this down the threads, we're cleaning up these threads. So this die is evidently cutting nicer threads than the factory did when they manufactured this bolt, because I can see little chips coming off, and I can feel it grabbing too. So, come on thing. Yeah, another great application for a proper tap and die set is to repair rusty, nasty, damaged thread bolts if you can't get a replacement, or if it's not feasible to. So now we're at the bottom of the threads, so I'm going to give this a little bit of this thread cutting oil here. That should get us started. Yeah, this is quite a bit harder to turn, but it's still turning. And again, I'm only going to go, that was a little more than half a turn, and then back to break the chips. There's actually an audible snap there as the chips broke, and I felt this get a lot easier to turn in that direction. So now we're going to go forward. And it's working. There goes the chips. There goes the chips. And yeah, this is actually working really well. It's cutting some nice smooth threads, that's for sure. But I'm not going to go too much further on this because there's really no reason to, because we know it works. And I'm just going to back this off. Alright YouTube, so unfortunately we don't seem to have a nut that's the exact size of this thread. However, like I said, I am quite impressed. It cuts nice threads. It even left us a nice shoulder here above the last thread that it cut. So yeah, I think this about winds it down. Only thing I don't really care for with these two sets is the damn cases. I don't know why everyone and their brother has to use these blow molded cases, but none of them are very good. Some are better than others, and this one is already starting to split across the top of the handle. I would try to send it back and get a better case, but that one's just gonna break again because, like I said, these things all kind of suck. So I don't know what happened to the good old-fashioned metal toolbox. I'm more than happy to pay for them, but I don't know, I guess some people aren't. Regardless, the tools inside the cases seem to be every bit as awesome as I hoped they would be. Yeah, really impressed with this, really happy with my purchase here, and thanks for watching everybody.